Y'all are seeing that Gen Z is making fun of millennials for raising iPad kids, right? I don't care if I'm a millennial teacher or not. I have to join in with Gen Z here and saying that y'all are raising some kids that are extremely hard to deal with. Is it really that we're being bullied by Gen Z, like they're bullying us about mom jeans? Or is it that from a third party perspective, we're being called out for some poor parenting choices and we just don't want to hear it? We always like to clown on boomers for not having any emotional capacity to take criticism because of their parenting choices, but y'all need to step back and realize that you're doing the exact same thing. I'm a millennial teacher that has taught millennials, Gen Z, and now Gen Alpha, and I can tell you that screen time and the lack of restrictions around screen time has 100% affected their academic performance, the way that they function in the classroom, and their social skills. A lot of these millennial responses to Gen Z calling out them raising iPad kids is them saying, well, you're not a parent yet. You wouldn't understand until you're in that situation. But y'all do realize that Gen Z are old enough to be having kids, right? They're old enough to be parenting, and they're seeing what they're seeing out in public. They're seeing how these kids are acting in the classroom. They're seeing how they're acting out on the streets, and they know that they don't want to have anything to do with that they're going to make different choices around screen time and iPads. And y'all are mad about it. I think I have a unique perspective because not only have I over a decade of experience in the classroom teaching hundreds of other people's kids and seeing the direct effects of screen time and addiction to screen time, but I'm also somebody who has gone all that time without having a child of their own and now is entering into parenthood at the tail end of that. And I can tell you that I'm making the decision that a lot of Gen Z parents are doing now. I'm not giving my kid unlimited access to screens because I know that it's going to stunt their social growth and it's going to stunt their academic performance. These kiddos have an addiction to screen time, and y'all have an addiction to screen time just as much as them because you know that them not having a screen in front of their face makes it infinitely more challenging to parent them at home and out in public. A lot of people talking about how and why they give their kid a screen out in public is not necessarily because they're making it an easier time on the kid, but they're making it an easier time on the adults around them. You're giving your kid an iPad at the restaurant because you don't want to disrupt anybody else's experience. You want to have a nice dinner and have adult conversation. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with what's best for the kid. That has everything to do with what's best for the adults around them. And what's worse is because of the lack of awareness around this issue and the fact that you don't want to take ownership that it's getting out of hand, is that you're sending them to school and pawning off that addiction on teachers. Because when we ask them to sit there and listen to instructions or complete an activity that doesn't have to do with technology, we can't get it done with them. And they are having complete meltdowns because they don't know how to function without having a screen in their hand. You're pawning that issue off on us. I know it's difficult to admit when you've made a mistake as a parent, but I think the least productive thing you can have happen in this conversation is to point your finger at somebody and say, you're not a parent and you never will understand until you are one. But it doesn't take a genius to realize that addiction to screens stunts you socially, emotionally, and mentally, because it happens to us as adults too. We've seen it since COVID. We spend more time in front of screens. We're all having more issues socially and emotionally. The only difference between us and our children is we have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, and they don't. It is always going to be easier to put a kid in front of a screen and give them something overstimulating to watch and overstimulating to do. But it's not going to help them in the long run. And if you sat in a classroom for just one day, 1 week, with 30 other kids from other parents and other households, you would see the correlation. But when teachers are trying to tell you that the issue is there right in front of your face, most of y'all do not want to hear it. Addiction to technology in a lot of ways is so similar to addiction to substances. When you withdraw that substance, they become aggressive, they become violent, they become restless. They don't have the capacity to think in the same way that they would without the addiction. They don't have the capacity to concentrate. They don't have the capacity to socialize the same way. And as the parent of an addict, all you're doing is enabling them. Demonizing all technology is not the solution to this problem, but whether you like it or not, Gen Z is correct about this. And if they decide not to raise their child in front of a screen, they're probably going to be better off for it.